So now you're coming from India. How are you going to get here to the U.S.? It's like you can get here illegally, right? It's going to cost you a lot of money, but you need to get a visa. Who's getting a visa to the United States from India? Who do you think's getting a visa? Kyle? Anybody? Any of you?
I honestly don't know, so I don't want to misspeak, but probably people that have connections or solid jobs. I know that the vetting process of the United States, in terms of handing out visas, they want people who are going to, the system generally operates that they want people that are going to contribute into the system.
Yeah, and everyone's going to contribute, mind you, right? Everybody, because we need people, for example, hang on one sec. We're going to come back to this, so just let it go. So we need people to teach this class. We need people to run the technology, and we need people to sweep the floors every night at the end of the day. So everybody contributes. I contribute, but the people sweeping the floors also contribute, and we need those people as well. So, okay, but they're pretty easy, and we got plenty of those people that are going to come from Mexico, let's say, or Central America, or South America, or whatever. But in order to get on an airplane and land in LaGuardia or JFK or Dulles or Chicago O'Hare or LAX, in order to get past customs, what do you got to have?
I think you really have to have like some type of connection to someone here to be able to help you once you land, figure it out. Like it's just like moving to any country, whether it's from like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be to the U.S., but any country you're going to have to adjust, and someone's going to have to teach you the way that things are done here and how they're different from wherever home is.
But listen, but Mexicans have that connection, right? You have millions and millions of Mexicans in the U.S. Everybody's got a cousin, right? If you know anything about Mexicans, you know that everybody's got many cousins, right? So my Mexican friends that just have a long list of cousins. So they got people. But to get on an airplane and to get the visa from the U.S. consulate, to be like, yes, I'm going to, dude, hang on. To be like, I'm going to go to the United States and I'm going to study, something else has to happen. You gotta be in a certain position. So it's going to be some factors and forces outside of your control. Like you were born into a wealthier family. You were able somehow to get an education. You're able to somehow do well enough, and you're going to apply to graduate school in the United States, and you're going to stay. You're going to do something. Same with Africans. If you're coming from Africa, right? Central America is a little different. I mean, the Caribbean, because there are different ways around. But if you're coming from Africa, man, the only way you're getting here is on an airplane. So, like, you better have something that's going to get you that visa. Because if you don't have that visa, it's never going to happen. So now we got free will. You can want it as much as you possibly can. But you also got it. Some other things must be going on. What's another thing about Asians, for example, that's happened in the most recent 30 years that you guys know about? Like your parents, probably. I don't know you. I don't know your parents, but I know your parents already. I know nothing about you, but I already know. Right? They had college degrees. They came here. And did they go to graduate school here?
I don't think my dad went to Penn State.
Yeah.
So he came here when he was like 3 or 4, but my mom was poor in India. I think the only reason she was able to come here was because she got married.
Because she got married to your dad.
Like arranged.
Yep. Yep. And so one thing that we see is like increasingly larger and larger numbers of people from South Asia and East Asia already have degrees. And they're coming here with their degrees. And what are their degrees in, bro? So hang on. What are the degrees in? Sociology, bro? What do you think their degrees are in? Linguistics?
Obviously it's the degrees that make money, you know. I don't know which ones exactly, but like I would say engineering, I would say medicine, computer engineering, anything that makes money, like that makes the most money in the system.
Okay, that's one. Here's the other one, right? When I show up, so I'm from Mumbai, and I show up at the consulate and say like, hey, I'm a sociologist. I'm from Mumbai. I live in Mumbai. And I say, hey, I want to go to the United States and I want to work. And I have a sociology degree, so I can contribute to the United States. What are they going to say? Bro, what are they going to say?
You just study sociology in a completely different system?
They're going to say, we don't need sociologists. But let's say that I show up, I'm from Mumbai, and I have a degree in, biotechnology. Are they going to listen to what I have to say? Are they going to be more interested? I mean, like, this is the whole thing, right? This is the whole growth of the sector. We don't need another sociologist. So all the sociology majors, they're back in India, right? They're back in China. They're back in Korea. They're back wherever. Because it's going to be much more difficult to get into the United States. But the high-tech sector, engineering, medicine, whatever it is, all those things, okay, hey, well, we're much more interested. So now, let's look at black people. So wait, hang on, first off, so you see Asians. This isn't every Asian, but now you start to see some things. So it's people's choices, because was your parents in arranged marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your dad came when he was 3.
Yeah, my dad came to the U.S. when he was 3. He had his whole life here.
Yep, exactly. So now
and then he went back to India to meet girls.
Yeah, to meet girls, and he found.
And then
your
he got
mom.
an arranged marriage. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Okay, so now we get a sense of Asia, okay, of the Asian number. It's like, oh, maybe that's a little disproportionately high, because the other side would be to say, Asians, wow, they make that much money. They must work really, really hard, right? Like, wow. So like we take on average, Pariti is she's going to work a lot harder than you guys. Look at that. She's making more on average. It's like, no, dude, that's not, okay? Or that has nothing to do with it. Okay, so you see that, right? We're just beginning to touch this. Okay, so now let's go with black people. What's going on?
For black people now, the point that you made about, who works harder than who, I remember you mentioned that in another class. I really don't think it depends on like whatever race you are. You can work as hard as you are. We can work as hard as you want, and you can achieve the goals regardless. But as you were saying, when we have factors that are out of our control, for black people now, there's so many issues that affect us. And, which causes us to, no matter how hard we work, no matter, how much time we put in, some things we just cannot accomplish.
Yeah.
You forget what I'm saying.
But like for all people, dude, look. Mm-hmm. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, man. It's a huge difference. I know. And
how do you explain all that? Like what? Okay, so go ahead.
Is it because of
we're going to keep going.
Amount of people? Like he was saying, like, is it because of the amount of people? Like, there's just so many more Asians.
It's not about the amount of people. No, there's more black people. But it's not about the amount of people. It's not about where they live. Let's think about because black people and Asian people, look, half of all Asians live in the western half of the United States. The western 40% of the U.S.
How can we say it's not about where they live, though?
Well, it is at some level, but there are enough people that let's just not bring that in for a second, because it's not that important. It is important for some things, but not at the level at which we're talking.
I think it's pretty important, though.
I was going to say the West Coast has like higher salaries, right? So if there's more Asians because of the cost of living on the West Coast is higher. Like if I think of California, then maybe like somewhere here.
I got it, but it doesn't explain that.
Okay. Can I butt in?
No, go ahead, please.
So, what I was also like, I want to elaborate on what I was saying. Now, I can't speak for all black people. In fact, I can.
Go ahead.
I'm right
dude.
here.
You're speaking.
Yeah,
for all
I'm
black
right
people.
here though. But a lot of times, even in my own personal experiences, I've realized that despite how hard I work, how much time I put in, trying to be, I even tried to be a teacher's pet because, hello? Oh, okay. Yeah, I even tried to be a teacher's pet. Well, I was a teacher's pet in school because I had to because of the things that, I would have to do to come to the U.S. And, let's say, especially back in St. Lucia, in my school, we didn't have that many, white people, Asians and whatnot, obviously, because it's a Caribbean country.
Yeah.
But when we would have them, I would realize the teachers would favor them more.
Uh-huh.
And, be nicer to them. And I would have to stick out, even if I'm in a predominantly black, country.
Uh-huh.
I would still have to stick out in that, in that setting. And for me, like, I had to work way harder than a lot of the students in my own class. But even if I worked harder, these students will even get higher grades than me. They'll have way more opportunities than me, and I don't know why. I can't explain it. I can't explain why. Now, for that household income and net worth thing, it goes back to the system in the U.S. There's so many systems in the U.S. that prevent black people from making a certain amount of money. And
dude, can you got it? Okay, can you explain what those are? Because
now I can get into it.
Yeah, go ahead. Because you're now you've walked down. Let me just tell you where you walked. You've walked. It's like a plank, you know. It's like you walk down to the edge of the plank, and you're going to either have to dive in or you got to go backwards somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds to me like you're going down the road of blaming it all on opportunity and discrimination.
Oh no.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me elaborate. No, I'm not doing that. So I'm going back into like the systems in the U.S. itself. Okay. I made an example about like the loans and whatnot. Let's say a black guy wants to get a loan, but he's also, I remember the point he was making about your location as well. He was making a point about your location, and like, let's say you grew up in like in a bad neighborhood.
Yep.
And you're trying to apply for a loan to get a house in like one of the up there neighborhoods. It'll be much harder for you to get a loan. Okay. And I can explain why.
And that would be true. That's true of anybody from any of these groups, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's why, like, I think location also has a factor to play, but it's not the biggest, factor.
Yeah, because listen, man, because you got to explain this, right? There are a couple things here that are really key. You got to explain why that is so low compared to these numbers up here, and why that is so low. Right here, 24,000, man. Median income. I mean, median, that's household net worth.
Yeah.
Yo, that's so low. Like, how do you explain that? So here's my first question. Come down here. Do black people want to make as much money as white people?
Oh, yeah.
And Asian people?
Of course, want to make money.
Okay, so they all do, right? Everybody wants to make money. Do black people know that, hey, in order to make money, I'm going to have to save money? Do as many black people know that as white people and Asian people?
Any race.
That's standard ideas, right? That's standard thinking. Would the two of you agree with that? Wait, can you repeat that? Black people want to make as much money as white people and Asian people, and that basically black people also know, hey, if I want to make a lot of money, I'm going to have to invest it, save it, do something unique. I don't know, something like that. Would you two agree with that? That's standard, right? Okay, so then would you also have the idea that black people are pretty smart?
Yeah.
And black people are pretty hardworking?
Yeah.
Okay? Black people are, so would you all agree that black people are just as hardworking as everybody else? On average. We're not
on average, yeah.
Because I got black students in here, you haven't done a single thing all semester because you're lazy. Right? And I got white students in there. Some of you haven't done a single thing all semester because you're lazy. Hispanic, Asian students, whatever, same thing. You haven't done a damn thing all semester because you're lazy. But the hardest working people are from all the groups, right? So we can say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so therefore, I can pick any individual person out and I can say, yeah, there are people in every one of these groups that they just don't even want to. They don't want to bother to lift their foot to get up to the next step. I mean, dude, it's a simple lift, man. Like, bro, come on, man. It's a simple lift. Just do this and go like this. You got it. Like, but there are people that don't even want to do that. But most people do, right? And there are people that don't know how to do that. But most people know how. Okay? So we're in agreement down here that in the population as a whole, of all the black people, all the Hispanic people, there are people who just don't want to do it, but most people do. In the white population, there are people that don't want to do it, but most people do. Most people work, okay? Most people want to work. Most people, I can go to any community, like you might be thinking now, yeah, but hey, Sam, but you should be in my town where it's all the X group of people. They're the ones sitting on their front porches. They're the ones collecting welfare. They're the ones not working hard. They're the ones who just want to take and not receive. I got you. That might be true in your community, but I'll take you to another community where it's people just like you who just want to sit on their porches and do nothing and collect welfare and drink Natty Light or whatever the case is. Okay? Go ahead, bro.
I kind of have this theory that, like, a lot of the system, because I don't know if you want to talk solutions potentially, but I think a lot of the error in the system is in that programs like Medicaid and Medicare. So let me take a step back. Our economy, our capitalistic economy, functions off of incentive. So incentive provides you the want to be successful, the want to work hard. And if you have systems, and this is why I think geographically it's so significant, if you have systems where, let's say in a population of strictly black individuals, you have increased programs that give Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah.
Are you not robbing people of their incentive?
Yeah, you are. But here's the problem. When we look at the United States, when we look at who's getting Medicaid, who's getting welfare, who's getting food stamps, who's getting all these things that would presumably take away from incentives, the majority of people who are getting assistance from those programs are white people, right? So yeah, so maybe those things take incentive away because I might be like, I'm going to go back to you, bro. What's your name again? Oh yeah, that's right. All right. So listen, man, I may go back to you and be like, maybe he doesn't want to lift his foot there because he's like, fuck. If I lift my foot and I go up here, then I'm going to have to get a job, man. But if I stay right down here, I can just get the incentives. I can take care of stuff, and I don't have to do anything. I can just sit around and play video games all day, right? So, but that's true of it's true of every group. So it's not more true of one group or another, but that would be a good hypothesis. So one thing that Kyle just said, if you heard that, like, maybe one hypothesis is that some groups of people are more likely to receive some benefits from the system or from the state that deprive them or rob them or take away their incentives to actually do something for themselves, which would be, let me run up these stairs right here and make something of myself on my own. But I don't really have to do that. But that's a great hypothesis. It doesn't go there. So what else do we have? With black people, Hispanic people, like what else? Do you think it's all discrimination? Wait, you say no? Why do you say no?
I don't believe it's only discrimination. Discrimination does have a part to play, obviously. I don't think it's only just discrimination.
But what part and how much discrimination, right? Like how much? So discrimination is involved, right?
Yeah.
So this is the question, by the way. So Amani is actually, listen to what he just said here, right? Because this is what we're fighting over. Discrimination is involved, but I don't think it's only discrimination. Okay? You got it? It's involved, but I don't think it's only discrimination. So my question to him, and that I want you to answer, and I want the two of you to also weigh in. So how much discrimination is there?
Do you want like a quantifiable amount?
Well, I want to know, just something. Because here's the question. Because now you're speaking to the American people, right? And you got to explain the difference here. Man, you got to explain that difference. Is there enough discrimination to explain this difference? Or this one right here. 24,000 versus 189,000. Or for Hispanics, 36,000 versus 189,000.
I was going to say, is it like one example would be who's more likely to be hired for a job just based on the way that you look?
Yeah, but is that enough to explain all of those things? I mean, that's a lot. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, man. It is. Like, discrimination does have a major part to play. I will agree in that. I do believe that. And I remember you talking about like they want to take the step up and whatnot. What I believe is that you know, I can't speak for all people, but what I can say is that it's all about like, what do you want out of life? Like, what do you want in life? Because now that's a vague point, but what do you want in life? Now, what you were saying about the oh, am I good?
No, go ahead.
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
So you were talking about taking a step up. Now, in many households, let's say let me talk about black people. Let me just talk about black people. Let's say there's like some rich. In fact, now let me not talk about black people right now. I don't want to fight out my own people. Let's say there's just some rich white kid. All right, there's a rich white kid. All right.
Talk about rich.
Rich.
Talk about white people. Rich
yes,
white people and
yes,
poor white people.
Yes. All right. Now, let's say their mindset, the student's mindset, is that they don't need to work as hard because they have their daddy's money, they have their mom's money, so they don't need to take that step up. They don't need to do that. Whereas there'll be some other kids that'll say, all right, yeah, I need to work no matter how much money I have. Now that can apply to even black people as well. Because there could be black people and black kids that grew up with money and they're laid back. They're like, I don't need to work. I don't need a job. So they wouldn't go in the workforce.
Dude, here's all you got to do. As Pirani, you grew up with Paridi. Dude.
That was so bad.
It's okay.
That was so bad.
Man. Did you grow up with money? Your parents have money?
I don't think it's like an insane amount, but I'm paying out-of-state tuition for Penn State.
And they're paying out-of-state tuition?
Yeah.
Do you feel, okay, so she's got money. Mm-hmm. Do you have any sense that like, yeah, I don't have to work hard. My parents are paying out-of-state tuition.
No, but to add to what he was saying, I think it's also, like I was saying, like what type of jobs, I don't know, I guess like different, each race would be like its own thing, but I was going to say, what type of jobs are you thinking about that you want to be when you're young? Or what type of jobs your parents expect you to have, or the work ethic that they have you working towards? Like, is a marketing major an option for you, or is it an engineer? Like, what are you working towards, and what were you raised to work